Due to the massive blowups like FTX, Celsius, and Luna, are global financial regulators now coming together to put in sweeping regulations across the cryptocurrency industry. Let's take a look. Welcome back, everybody. Let's dive right into this because, as you can imagine, Bitcoiners have been saying this from the beginning, that all of these ridiculous crypto shitcoin blowups were simply going to lead to the inevitable passing of all kinds of sweeping crypto regulations. And that's exactly what it is, right? Like, the massive blowup has now prompted the regulators to step in and save the little people. But is that really what they're doing? Global finance regulator FSB, which we're going to take a look at FSB in a second, shares crypto framework for G20 meeting. The Financial Stability Board, FSB, a global finance regulator, has issued its set of recommendations for international crypto regulation that will inform the G20 this September. The recommendations are based on the principle of same activity, same risk, same regulation. In essence, the FSB believes that crypto activities must be regulated exactly how their traditional finance counterparts are regulated, regardless of how crypto firms market their products. The safeguarding, and that actually does, that sounds quote unquote good, but again, I am not a fan of the state, and I am not necessarily a fan of these types of institutions coming in and implementing regulations. So, because we've all seen, right, that really what ends up happening is that regulations that seem to help the little guy really just solidify the moat and power of the people and groups putting in the regulation, right? Like, the fact that there's any type of benefit to people like you and me, that's like a side effect. It's almost not even supposed to happen. Anyways, I'll continue. And that's just my opinion. I will continue. The safeguarding of client assets was top of mind. Of course it is, right? Top of mind in the FSB's crypto recommendations. Like many other finance watchdogs, the FSB recommends the client assets are segregated from the firm's own assets. And again, in order for us to eat this up, in order for us to support this behavior, we need to think that they're looking out for our best interests. And what better way to frame this type of regulation than, hey, we're looking out for you. We're looking out for your assets. It's going to be very interesting because we're going to take a look and see who the FSB is made up of. Because the same people that are supposedly trying to secure and help you protect your assets are the same people that are practicing the money creation. Interesting. Not surprising. Not surprising. Anyways, let's continue on. What's more, the FSB is keen to crack down on a principle employed by major crypto exchanges such as Binance, wherein they combine multiple functions. And again, this goes back to the point, right? Look at what these crypto firms did. You can't trust them. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't disagree with that. You can't trust Binance. You can't trust any of these people. This is why Bitcoiners harp on self-sovereignty. Okay, so there's nothing new there. But in this particular case, they're pointing to these institutions to help solidify their argument so that you buy the narrative that they're protecting you. Remember, it's all a story. They're protecting you. Setting up complex affiliate corporate structures that finance each other leads to acute conflicts of interest, as well as increases the risk of contagion. So the irony and the projection of this, right, is if we go back. So first of all, if we go back to the mortgage crisis, all of these big players were all working hand in hand to essentially resell and propagate all of these terrible subprime loans. Okay, so the idea that this organizational body is going to come in and help us, right? Help the little guy. It's just nonsense, right? That they're just there. This is all about protecting the existing moat. Never forget that. It's all about protecting the existing moat. And by the way, they weren't able to stop the contagion in the mortgage meltdown, right? They weren't able to. I mean, yes, they claimed to, but at the end of the day, what did they do? They simply band-aided the bubble so that the bubble could continue to grow. The people who actually lost everyone's money, they're all rehired. None of them were actually held accountable for any of their actions. So this idea that all of a sudden there's going to be some type of accountability here and now, well, there wasn't accountability in every other past. So why is there going to be accountability here and now? There's no reason. There's no precedence for accountability. None. Think about it. Every single person gets off scot-clean. The best example is Sam Bankman-Fried. I mean, the FTX blowup was absolutely huge. He's not going to see He's not going to see a day in jail. Anyways. Again, not that I am a fan of state-backed violence enforcement, but I'm just saying, in this particular case, this is the society that we currently live in. These are the current rule sets that we are currently under. So therefore, that person who screwed over millions of people, lost billions of dollars, should be held accountable, right? You wouldn't be able to get away with that if you did that to your peers. Right? If you went and did that to all of your friends, right? If you went and ripped off all of your friends, you don't think all these people would get together and possibly do something to you? Not that I'm advocating for any type of anarcho violence or anything, but I'm just saying there is a certain amount of justice that should take place, and it doesn't. And these institutions understand that. The people that put in these regulations understand that. It's all a show. Anyways, sorry. When I start to cover these types of topics, they really piss me off, and then I go on rants. Apologies, people. I will continue. Global stablecoins received their own set of recommendations within the framework. According to the FSB, issuers would safely store and report data, have robust risk management guidelines, and otherwise comply with regulators. The FSB has stressed the importance of cross-border cooperation. This is also part of the signal, guys. As some countries enforce stricter crypto regulations than others, firms will naturally seek friendlier shores. Many already have. The FSB is vague on how it hopes to achieve this, but said that its recommendations have been strengthened on information sharing, including about the level of compliance of activities spanning multiple jurisdictions, especially those in jurisdictions that have not implemented the international standards. So the FSB hasn't actually given any standards, but yet somehow certain countries are being looked at for not following international standards that don't exist yet. Okay, sure, why not? I mean, what we're watching is total freaking shenanigans anyways, so why not just make it sound like we've got something in place right now? The FSB is working together, here we go, with the IMF. What a shock. Not only an enemy of Bitcoin, but an active organization that enslaves countries with debt under the guise of financial aid. Here, we're going to come help you out by cutting your legs off so now you can deal with the bleeding and trying to run the marathon. The IMF, helping everyone all the time. Anyways. So they're going to deliver this joint report to the G20 in September. And I'm sure the G20 is just going to totally, they're going to stand up for the people. They're going to object to the things that make no sense. Yeah, I don't think so. It's a whole giant circle jerk of a whole bunch of friends paying each other. I highly doubt anyone is going to say anything besides good job. The finance regulator will be focusing on ways to improve cross-border coordination. Again, right? That's so that they bring that up twice right at the end of this article because, as most people know, nobody really reads to the end of the articles. But when you do read to the end of the articles, that's usually where you end up getting some of the best detail. And at the end of this article, they mention the cross-border coordination twice. This includes engaging with more jurisdictions to get them on board and monitoring cross-border issues in crypto as they occur. South Park made a movie, Team America World Police, but in this case, it's not Team America. In this case, it is the World Bank World Police. It's much more like that. Anyways, let's go take a little bit closer look at this FSB global regulatory framework for a sec. So obviously, like everything else, I'm going to put the link in the show notes. You guys can go take a look at this yourselves and go through it. So here we go. The FSB Global Regulatory Framework for Crypto Assets. The framework is based on the principle, as we said before, same activity, same risk, same regulation, and provides the strong basis for ensuring that crypto activities and so-called stable coins are subject to consistent, comprehensive regulation, commensurate to the risks they pose, while supporting responsible innovations potentially brought by the technological change. There's nothing that says killing innovation like that particular sentence. Okay? Responsible innovation. Let me tell you something. And I know it's going to sound stupid, but we really need to think about this. It wasn't responsible innovation that where fire was discovered. It wasn't responsible innovation where Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Okay, it wasn't responsible innovation for Nikola Tesla. Okay, so the reality is that choosing to box and chain innovation into this predictable mold, I don't actually think that that's good for us. I really don't. Anyways, it's just too bad that people buy this crap. They read this type of stuff and they, immediately, you've got rainbows and unicorns and you're thinking, oh yeah, the regulators, they're just helping us out. They're just making this all work. We need to mitigate risks. Well, one of the biggest lies that we're told is that everything can be predictable, right? And this is the type of society that we live in where everything is made predictable. Right? The stock markets, we've got all these predictions. You've got all these financial experts, right? You go and let's say you have a lot of money and you want to go and invest it. You're going to go to a personal finance expert who is then going to predict how well you're going to do into the future and how much you're going to save. The reality is that everything is truly unknown, okay? And the fact that we do this is just hubris. That's all it is. And it's our ignorance and our fear. Anyways, all right. We're leaving Phil's philosophical hour and going back to the article. The recommendations focus on addressing risks to financial stability. Ah, yes, of course, because the regulators have done such a good job of staving off financial crises in the past. And they do not comprehensively cover all specific risk categories related to crypto asset activity. So we're going to put this framework in place. You're going to follow this shit, but when something falls apart, not our fault. Okay? It's all good. Anyways. Here we go. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, envisaged as digitalized central bank liabilities, are not subject to these recommendations. Now, guys, I want you to think about this. This is what hit me when I was reading that article. Everything else can be unstable. Everything else can break, but not the CBDC. Not what they came up with, right? Not what the central bankers and the architects, the financial architects, not what they come up with, right? What they come up with is always safe. It's this is just completely crazy, guys. I'm sorry, this is just nuts. Anyways, let's continue on. Let's go take a look at who's making these recommendations to the G20. Okay, I'm not going to go through this whole entire list. As always, link is in the show notes. You guys can go check it out. But I wanted to point out some key players of the FSB, okay? And then I'm going to pose a theory. So here we go. The International Monetary Fund sits on the FSB, where none of us are surprised about this. The World Bank, right? So there you go. There's some U.S. representation there. Bank for International Settlements. Oh my gosh, Augustus Karsten. Yeah. We all know how much of a friend they are to individual humanity, right? Because it's very important. It's very important that Augustin Karsten knows where you spent your $100. Where did you spend your $100 and on? Very important that the BIS knows where your $100 are being spent. Ah, the ECB, of course, the friend to freedom. The ECB has been calling Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies tools for money laundering, even though there's multiple European banks that have been caught in money laundering schemes. You've got Christine Lagarde, who's a convicted felon. I don't know what to tell you guys. But I'm sure that their recommendations are going to be good for individuals. The ECB banking supervision, right? And the European Commission. I'm gonna pose this theory forward then. All those other countries on that list, they're kind of just like attendees, okay? The real players are all of those banking related institutions, because the central bankers do believe that they are better architects of humanity than governments. Okay. They do believe that. And they've been able to fool the world for the most part with their endless capability of money printing. But you see, this FSB, right? This Financial Stability Board, this is very funny because essentially what it is it's just LARPing. right? So all of these countries are coming together pretending that they're participating in something, but really what's happening is that they are being handed orders. That's really all it is. And I'll actually give an example from the real world, right? That happens in corporations. Now, there's some people who may work in large corporations, right? Fortune 500 companies, whatever. And a lot of times in these kind of companies, in order to boost up employee morale, they'll set up social committees. Okay. Now, what happens is in these social committees, you obviously, you have like a smaller board at the top of the social committee, right? A couple of people that make the decisions. But this social committee usually has to present what it is that they want to do to administrative staff of the corporation itself. The way that it works, or at least the way that I've seen it work, is very simple. In order to placate the employees who say they want to have, we'll say, a better environment, more activities, the corporation will set up these social committees, so to speak, right? They will give them zero budget or very little budget. And then when these committees present what it is that they want, the administrative body will simply just either reject it outright or give them a very small subset of what they asked for. Now, how does this relate back? Kind of to the central bankers? So this is all LARPing, right? Like there was never any intention in the corporation to make things better for the employee. The whole goal is to get more productivity out of you. Okay, that's the whole goal. So whatever it is that they can get you to think that will get you to work harder for them is, there you go. That's what will get you to do. Well, it's the similar type of thing in this type of situation, right? By creating this illusion that all of these countries have a say in the financial stability board with these banks and with these bankers, they feel like they're getting something accomplished. Now, don't get me wrong. There's also the other side of this, that these people that represent these countries also know that it's just total LARPing, and they also don't give a shit. Okay, there's that aspect of it as well. Okay, but in the end, what you have is you have a bunch of companies, and you have a bunch of institutions that have no grasp on what the everyday person goes through and their struggles. And then they put together a board of members who also have zero grasp on what the average person is actually going through. It's just a losing combination. And it's like I said in the beginning of this clip, we're just watching a show. Anyways, guys, that was a long clip. I'm sorry, but when I see stuff like this, it just sets me off. It just totally sets me off. Guys, like and subscribe, and I will catch you all tomorrow.